Welcome to the Three Martini Lunch. Grab a stool next to Greg Columbus of Radio America and Jim Garrity of National Review. Three Martinis coming up.
So glad you're with us for the Tuesday edition of the Three Martini Lunch. Jim Garrity is away. He should be back tomorrow. Here in his place is Rob Long, the co-founder of Ricochet, co-host of the Glop podcast, host of the Martini Shot, which is among the best podcasts with Martini in the name. I will clearly.
Among. Holy moly.
Rob, good to have you. It's been a while.
Nice to be here. It's been a while. I have to wait for Jim to have the shift at the Chick-fil-A before I can show up.
Well, let's get into it. We've got good, bad, crazy martinis today. We'll talk a little bit later on about Trump's chatter about possibly serving yet another term. We'll also look at a disturbing movement out in California that is once again part of the idolization of Luigi Mangione, who shot the insurance company CEO in broad daylight downtown Manhattan last year. But we start out with good news from the EPA, and usually good news from the EPA means they're rolling back their own rules, or in this case, completely shutting something down, which is exactly what Lee Zeldin was announcing yesterday. It's the EPA Museum, and he's going to go through the numbers here, as you'll see in just a second. And in terms of the whole EPA budget or the federal budget, it's a tiny fraction. But these are the pet projects. These are the things that happen that nobody comes to see, basically, and they just keep piling up because everybody's got their own pet projects. So here is Lee Zeldin explaining why he's shutting down the EPA Museum, which, fact check, I didn't even know existed until yesterday.
I'm currently standing inside of this museum, which was built and curated by the Biden administration with $4 million in taxpayer dollars. As if this wasn't enough of a price tag to fill a room the size of an apartment. This shrine to environmental justice and climate change cost the American taxpayer $600,000 to operate annually. This agency has been spending $123,000 on cleaning, $207,000 for security, $54,000 on maintenance, and an additional $54,000 on storage. From May 2024 through last month, only 1,909 members of the public visited the museum. Even though it is free admission, this museum costs you, the taxpayer, $315 per external visitor. I have pledged to be an exceptional steward of taxpayer dollars. So this shrine to EJ and climate change will now be shut down for good.
Yeah, and with the Biden administration, putting this thing together, I'm sure it's one big exhibit that says climate's cyclical. You really don't have anything to worry about. And so
yeah, that's right.
So
technology will solve this problem.
Yes,
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
And so, Rob, you've got all sorts of things at EPA that billions in grants that Lee Zeldin is cracking down on. We're seeing that in other parts of the government. But these are these things that get slipped into these spending bills that we never read. The lawmakers themselves don't read, and then we just find out that hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, depending on the project, just keeps going on forever because most people don't know about it and most people aren't going to stop it.
Yeah, it's the benign analog to the fact that every single one of these federal administrations has their own army, and that we discovered that a few years ago. There's a SWAT team associated with the EPA, and I'm not kidding. The Department of Agriculture has their own little private, security force that's apparently incredibly well armed. So yes, this is great and it's very good. But I think the real story here is that Lee Zeldin, just if you don't know who he is, you don't live in New York State. He was almost governor, Republican governor. Did really, 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 really well in the Empire State, which is, as you know, a machine state controlled by Democrats. He did really, really well, and this shows you why. Do you know any other cabinet level Trump official who is not being overshadowed and sort of in many ways emasculated by Elon Musk? No, it's Lee Zeldin. This guy. Just write his name down because he's going to run for governor. He's going to run for president. He's a very ambitious man. And this is how you start. You start by doing, kind of insignificant things that everyone agrees with. That's my takeaway from this, except for the fact that, that I'm sorry that I never got to see the museum. I never got the tote bag.
You and 330 million other Americans, apparently, when fewer than 2,000 people darkened the door.
It's like 1,700. Yeah, it was just, yeah. And it's right around the corner from the Smithsonian, too. So it's not like it was out of the way. If you're doing a museum day in D.C., you could just pop into there.
Yeah, not a lot of field trips to the EPA Museum. The gift shop tender is probably just drumming their fingers on the counter. But
you got to bring your own bag, probably. one of those.
That's right. Yeah, you can't have plastic or paper, really, at the EPA
right,
museum because both are going to destroy the planet, right? So, no, this is great. And Lee Zeldin is also putting some significant burdensome rules under review. So he's off to a fantastic start at the EPA. We always knew that he would be great there. He was one of the first nominees announced after Trump won last fall, and he is certainly living up to his incoming reputation. And that's no surprise whatsoever. Look, if you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table potentially. Think about the last time you had a plumbing emergency. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait or did you call the next one on the list? Well, chances are you moved on. And with Open Phone, you'll never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that streamlines and scales your customer communications. It works through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or using a landline. With Open Phone, your team can share one number and collaborate on customer calls and texts like a shared inbox. That way, any teammate can pick up right where the last person left off, keeping response times faster than ever. Plus, with AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, you'll be able to automate follow-ups, ensuring you'll never miss a customer interaction again. OpenPhone is now offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/3ml. That's openphone.com/3ml. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. You get to keep your number. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, Rob, on to our bad martini now. And this one's just been twisted from day one. It was last year, of course, that we all saw on social media Luigi Mangione shooting Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, in the back multiple times, broad daylight, Midtown Manhattan. America should have been horrified. Many of us were. Some people, though, not so horrified. They've turned this guy into some sort of cult hero. Some people on the left think he's good looking. Other people just say, you know what, these insurance companies are evil, so we don't have any sympathy. It's actually, and this was Elizabeth Warren's comment, it's amazing this didn't happen sooner. Well,
yeah.
Thanks for that sort of compassion. But now, of course, looking to up the ante even more, we head out to California because, of course, why wouldn't we? A California lawyer is now sinking to new levels of depravity. That's the wording over at Red State in exploiting this situation. But here's the copy from the New York Post. Californians could soon be voting on a new healthcare law named after Luigi Mangione, the Ivy League grad who is accused of executing the CEO of United Healthcare in cold blood. The Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act was put forward by retired Los Angeles attorney Paul Eisner, who said the sick stunt was necessary, that's not Eisner's words, to get publicity for his proposal. The ballot measure would make it illegal for an insurance company to, quote, delay, deny, or modify any medical procedure or medication, unquote, recommended by a doctor if there could be serious consequences, including, quote, disability, death, amputation, permanent disfigurement, loss, or reduction of any bodily function. And the terms delay and deny were actually written on the bullet casings that were found at the murder scene last year. So, Rob, you've got quite a bit of experience in both New York and in Los Angeles. Thankfully, not with murder, but when
you think, yeah.
But when you see the left not only not really mourning this death, but glorifying the killer in this way, what do you make of it? And is it going to work when you put this on the ballot out there? You know, there's a lot of lefties who might vote for it.
The Saran Hotel Kitchen Safety Act. I mean, who else are you going to name these things after? The Lee Harvey Oswald Book Depository Security Act. I'm so confused by this. First of all, I'm surprised that you mean that up till now that the health insurance companies could deny coverage that prevent disability, death, amputation, permanent disfigurement, loss, or reduction of any bodily function. I mean, that seems like actually I was going to pull out my health insurance, rider and realize that I think it covers that stuff, right? What it doesn't cover is nose jobs and then experimental back surgery and a lot of medication, right? So I just thought my actual take on this was when I read it, the first time I read it, I thought it makes it illegal for an insurance company to deny delay, deny, or modify any medical procedure or medication recommended by a doctor if there could be serious consequences, including disability, death, amputation, permanent disfigurement, loss, or reduction of any bodily function to a healthcare company executive. Because it really seems like they're the ones who need to be insured here, right? They're the ones who need to be protected, not the health, not the insured. One of the problems with this also is the idea that whatever you think you deserve in your sort of healthcare, your health plan, you should get, even if it doesn't work or if it's not proved or even if it's dangerous. People on the margins. I mean, this particular case is still murky for this guy. Like, what exactly he wanted, what is his real beef with that insurance company was. And it's not entirely clear that the insurance company was denying him something that he needed. It's actually more clear that it was trying to protect him from something he didn't need. As we were talking, just really 2 seconds ago, it just flashed up that they're going to ask for the death penalty.
Yes.
For this, it's going to be a capital crime in New York. Which if ever there was a capital crime, it's this. He planned it. It was an assassination. This seems to be, I don't know whether if he gets the death penalty, are they going to change the name of the act to somebody else? But the idea that we need a folk hero here and that there's a whole part of the American political side that demands a folk hero, demands some kind of emotional hero story to a murder and to an incredibly complicated but essentially effective system, healthcare system is essentially effective. All we do is complain about it. And it is true there's a lot of red tape, but it actually does an amazing job. The idea that we need to turn that into a story and into some kind of like movie of the week with a hero and a villain is a sign that we've lost the ability to have a serious conversation about serious stuff. Even to the point that the person who came up with this is a sort of retired California lawyer who no one has ever heard of before, but who nonetheless has decided that he needs to name this thing Luigi Mangione, I guess Health Restoration Act, to do something that is already being done. Anyway, that's my rant. And I realize that I probably have lost half your audience by defending health insurance companies, but I think that it's time that we did.
Well, the alternative is defending murder in this debate. So, it's... But yeah, this lawyer admits that he named it this to get attention, which I guess mission accomplished, but probably not in the way that you would necessarily prefer. But in California, who knows?
Does he feel that Luigi Mangione hasn't had enough attention? Does he feel that we haven't talked about healthcare and healthcare insurance enough? It's like this has been a continual American conversation since before the first Obama inaugural. At no point do we as a country need to talk about this more. We talk about it enough. That's my decree.
That seems to be a phrase mostly on the left. I don't want to say it's exclusively on the left, but usually when something happens, it's the left that says we need to have a national conversation about this, which basically means not enough of you agree with our big government proposal to deal with this.
When people say we need to talk, what they really mean is you need to shut up and listen.
Right. Exactly right. And like you said, there's no evidence that he was denied coverage. I'm not even sure there's evidence he was a client of United Healthcare. Nonetheless, he's got this cause celeb in these twisted circles, and we've certainly seen murderers get fan followings before. In New York City, also deep blue, can this guy necessarily forget a jury saying, yeah, we need to have the capital punishment here? Are we going to have trouble getting a conviction because enough people in that jurisdiction hate health insurance companies?
I don't know. I think everybody in New York City, no matter what, how you vote, doesn't like the idea of a crazy guy running around with a gun and shooting people, and certainly not shooting people on 6th Avenue. So I suspect that Mr. Mangione's counsel has got an uphill battle here. They may sympathize with him. And they may not give him the death penalty, but he's not going to be walking around.
I would certainly hope so. And so perfectly happy to see Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, recommending capital punishment. Like you said, if there's ever been an open and shut case, this would appear to be it. Yeah, exactly.
Elon's not cutting Medicare, just the billions in waste of it.
The Watchdog on Wall Street podcast with Chris Markowski. Every day, Chris helps unpack the connection between politics and the economy and how it affects your wallet.
As the left freaks out claiming Elon Musk is going to cut Medicare, remember during Obamacare when health insurers got double paid by Medicaid for hundreds of thousands of patients and our government didn't check?
Whether it's happening in D.C. or down on Wall Street, it's affecting you financially. Be informed. Check out the Watchdog on Wall Street podcast with Chris Markowski on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
All right, Rob, on to our crazy martini now. And this has certainly percolated up at times. Trump, I think, is mainly trolling here, but now he's actually used the term, I'm not joking about this, so more people are talking about it. He had a phone conversation with NBC, and he was asked about, you've mentioned asides that you might want a third term here. And so here's the NBC report on their own story.
President Trump is not ruling out the possibility of seeking a third term, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution's 22nd Amendment. He's joked about it at rallies.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times now.
But now, in an exclusive phone interview with NBC's Kristen Welker, he says that there are, quote, methods for doing so, and that a lot of people want me to do it. Asked to clarify, he said, I'm not joking, but added it is far too early to think about it. Asked about one possible method, Vice President J.D. Vance running for president and then passing the baton if he won, Trump responding, quote, well, that's one, but there are others too. The president later speaking on Air Force One.
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go.
Long time ago. Okay, so here is the text of the 22nd Amendment, which was passed in the late 1940s. So we didn't get another Franklin Roosevelt sticking around for, well, he wanted 4 terms. He died early in his 4th term. But it says, no person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of president or acting as president during the remainder of such a term. So the second half of that is just basically to say doesn't apply to Harry Truman. So the first part is pretty clear here. If you've been elected twice and you've served really more than a term and a half, you cannot run again. That's been the case since, again, the adoption of the 22nd Amendment. It is crystal clear, and the Constitution is also clear that you have to meet the constitutional criteria to be on the ticket. So this idea that Vance could run at the top of the ticket and Trump would be running as VP and then Vance would just hand it over. I don't know why you'd go through all of that to not even be vice president again. But nonetheless, Trump, who would be 82 at the time, doesn't meet that qualification because of the 22nd Amendment. So I don't think he'd even be allowed on the ticket. In the meantime, I think, again, he's doing this because he knows the media will, be frothing at the mouth over this. The Democrats will get fired up about it. So what do you think, Rob? Is he actually toying with this? Is he just having fun?
Well, he's having fun. I read the whole thing, and but I saw the news clip, and I saw it, and I went and looked at what he said, and he's like, you ask him a question, this is what he does. He answers the question. You want to run a third term? Yeah, it'd be kind of great. Well, but he kept saying, it's too soon, it's too soon, too soon. It is too soon. I mean, the guy is still underwater politically. The idea that he's going to run for a third term is highly remote. He needs to be more. He's not going to run against Joe Biden again. The weirdest thing about all this is that it's like the media is Wile E. Coyote and he's the Roadrunner. They are doing this cartoon over and over and over again. There is absolutely nothing interesting or valuable or illuminating about this. The idea that he's thinking about it. Let me tell you something. Bill Clinton thought about it, and Barack Obama really thought about it. Nobody asked them because it was a dumb question. But they asked this guy these questions because they know he's going to give them an honest answer, which is like, I don't know, maybe, let me think about it. But there's no second-term president who's not thought, I actually deserve a third term. There isn't one. Nobody goes home because they're tired. They want 4 more years. Nobody wants to stop at red lights, right? They like the fact that they get to go through red lights forever. So the answer to would you like to be president for another 4 years is always yes to these guys, and they're all the same. I mean, they're really not temperamentally that different, although Trump's a little weirder, but that's about it. So the idea they keep asking this question is because they are still so flummoxed by this man. They are so outwitted by this guy, and they just can't believe it. Like, I can't believe it. These are smart people, and they continually are sending money to the Acme Corporation to buy a new contraption to capture this dude. And it's just the strangest thing. It's like this. It's like just a really, really bad, passionate relationship. We've all seen them, and you think those two people should just never see each other again. And instead, they just keep getting back together.
Amazing. Yeah, and it's going on not only on that issue, but everything else. 5-alarm fire on CNN over everything, which means people tune out just about
Breaking
everything.
news.
So, yes, exactly. And you know what I missed for 4 years in the Biden administration was the CNN snarky chyrons where it says, Trump says XYZ, and then after a comment, it'll say, that's not true, or he can't do that.
Right.
Never happened when Joe Biden was proposing that the ERA was just suddenly enshrined in the Constitution with his tweet at the end of his administration. CNN, MSNBC never said anything. Oh, that's not true.
Not true.
So the real-time editing with the lower thirds on your screen. But you're right. The media has learned absolutely nothing. Still chasing all the breadcrumbs.
Still chasing that man.
Yes,
But maybe they'll get him someday. I don't know.
Well, if your Roadrunner analogies any guide, they won't. But we'll find out.
Nope.
We'll find out. Anyway, Rob, great to have you with us. Talk to you again.
Good to be there. Hey, thanks a lot.
Rob Long, co-founder of Ricochet, co-host of the Glop podcast, also host of the Martini Shot, and he's an editor-at-large at National Review. And for Jim Garrity today, again, Jim should be back tomorrow. Don't forget, no fooling that today's a big election day, especially if you live in Florida, but also Wisconsin. Supreme Court race there, but a lot more on the ballot there, including voter ID and superintendent of schools. Down in Florida, of course, those 2 House races to see if Republicans can keep the same margin, their slim margin in the House of Representatives. So a lot to talk about potentially on tomorrow's podcast about that when Jim returns. So in the meantime, please subscribe to the 3 Martini Lunch podcast. If you don't already, tell your friends about us as well. Thanks also for your 5-star ratings and your kind reviews. Please keep those coming. Get us on your home devices. All you have to say is play 3 Martini Lunch podcast. Follow all of us on X. Rob is at RCBL. Jim is at Jim Garrity. I'm at Greg Corumbus. Have a terrific Tuesday, and please join us on Wednesday for the next 3 Martini Lunch.